Welcome to the Indiana Lawyer Podcast. I'm your host, Maura Johnson, and in today's episode, we're looking back at a previously released episode highlighting the life and career of well-known Indiana attorney Ken Nunn, who died on December 24th at the age of 85. Nunn's story is one of rags to riches, he told the Indiana Lawyer last year. Beginning with a humble upbringing in his native of Jeffersonville and spanning statewide with more than 40,000 clients served by his personal injury firm, the Ken Nunn Law Office. Even if one didn't use his services personally, his face can often be seen on buses and billboards in Bloomington and Indianapolis, where the firm's two offices are located. Nunn opened the law office in 1968 following a rather tumultuous education and adolescence, which included dropping out of high school and being jailed for theft. He credited his eventual turnaround to his late wife, Leah K. Nunn, who reasoned that if he wanted to date her, he'd have to show up to class, do his homework, and graduate. After watching Atticus Finch on the big screen during a showing of To Kill a Mockingbird at the Princess Theater in Bloomington, Nunn set his sights on a career in law, graduating from the Indiana University Maurer School of Law in 1967. Nunn is survived by his two children, Vicki Nunn and David Nunn, and two grandchildren, Katie and Jimmy Nunn. His daughter Vicki joined her father's firm in 2001 and will take over as the firm's leader. From humble beginnings to a life and career well-loved in the Hoosier State, take a listen to the conversation Nunn had with previous host Alexa Schrake, which originally aired on February 19th, 2025.
Taft, today's modern law firm. At Taft, we cultivate a highly respectful, transparent workplace that fosters creativity, teamwork, inclusion, and diversity. We couple our culture with a client-first approach, rewarding lawyers who understand their clients' goals and work to deliver success. Taft, the modern law firm. To learn more, visit taftlaw.com.
I have with me here today attorney Ken Nunn. You may recognize him from billboards or TV or on the side of a bus. He has been practicing law for decades and has collected billions of dollars for his clients. But Ken didn't exactly fit into the mold most people assume about lawyers. So to start, Ken, I'm hoping you can tell me a little bit about those early days before law school. I think you had previously told me that you had dropped out of high school.
Yeah, I dropped out of high school and then I flunked the 7th grade. So I lost 2 years. And when I finally did graduate from high school, I was the oldest in the class. And logically speaking, I goofed off for 2 years. And it was boring. I would just sleep until noon. And there were times when the police would knock on the door and wake me up. So I would be in trouble. But I remember my mother never got mad at me for skipping or for quitting school. And you would think I worked at Kroger's at the time as a cashier. So it was fun. It was more fun going back to school. That was a big turnaround. And I'm sitting in biology class as a freshman. And I asked my friend Tim, I said, "Hey, Tim, who is that girl up there in the blue dress?" And he introduced me later on. And we started out dating. And she said that if I was going to date her, there was 4 rules that I had to follow. And I said, okay, what are the 4 rules? One is I had to do my homework. Oh my God, I hated homework. Okay, I agree, homework. Second, I couldn't skip class. I was good at skipping classes and just not show up. And okay, I'll agree. I'll stay in all the classes. And the third rule was no more D's and F's. I was good at D's and F's. I could make a D and an F. This is easy, so easy. And then she said I had to graduate. So she was the reason I got through high school. And her attendance was perfect for 12 years. And she, during assemblies, I don't know if you had assemblies at your high school. She would be called down for perfect attendance, uh, highest grades, and they would never call on me because I was just barely making it. And but I learned a lot from her, and that made a big difference. But she changed me. She made a new Ken. Okay, the old Ken was a loser.
Where did you end up going for your undergraduate degree?
I went to Indiana University, and I think I graduated in '59. I've lost track of my calendar.
What did you study?
Oh, in college,
Mhm.
business.
And how did that get you into law?
I saw a movie, To Kill a Mockingbird, and I wanted to be like Atticus Finch. And I went over to the law school the very next day. And I was in the Princess Theater here in Bloomington, third row in the balcony. The downstairs was all full, and my wife was with me. And so I saw the movie, and I told her, I said, I'm going to be a lawyer. And she said, okay. And so I went to the law school the next day, and they said, sir, you have 4 Fs that disqualify you. And or you could take the courses over again. So I took the courses over again, got a C, and it was tough. But I finally graduated from high school, and then graduated from law school or undergrad, and then I went to law school. And guess what my class standing was in law school? Last. I was last in my class. There was 2 in my class, and my class standing was 122. So I came in last. And I thought, I'm good for 3 flunks. And I took the bar exam, and they said that if I really did great, that I would get a congratulatory letter from the state of Indiana. And so the big day arrived, and I opened up the envelope, and I passed. I couldn't believe it. I did not flunk it 3 times. And so now I'm still looking for the congratulatory letter that has not shown up. My first day in law practice, I was immediately at 67, and I was in a 2-room office with no furniture, no clients, no money, no experience. And I got a start in my law practice with a fold up card table from home. And I put it there. And I, believe it or not, I got a client, and I couldn't believe she hired me because I didn't have any staff. I didn't have money, and I had lots of cars though. I would buy cars out of the newspaper and clean them, polish them up, and sell them, make $100. And I sold Fuller Brush for about 5 or 6 years. And I was used to knocking on the door, Fuller Brush man. I knocked on this window, and I sold him a brush, a mop, and a broom. And then one of my cars that I had out front had a for sale sign on. It was a Studebaker. And so he bought the Studebaker. And then about 6 months later, I became a lawyer, and I put an ad in the paper, and he called me up and said, would you write me a will? And I said, yes. And I wrote the will, and I didn't see him again for 10 years. Didn't see it ever again. I got a phone call from a different lawyer in up in northern Indiana, and said that he'd written a new will for this man. And I thought, oh my gosh, he wasn't happy with mine. And that was not the case. They wanted me to be a pallbearer at his funeral. And I said, yes, it's a real honor. Practicing law has been fun. I enjoy it. every day. It's a challenge. I'll come in at night and on weekends. Uh, my mother, she told me, she says, "Now, Kenny, you're not a big shot now just because you're a lawyer. You show respect and you call people back." And I said, "Yes, ma'am." And that was 57 years ago. And I kept right on calling. I called 4 people last night. I called 5 people on Christmas Day. And I'm having fun. This is the best vitamin I could take. I look in the mirror in the morning and I got to know 2 things. I got to have self-respect, and I've got to know that number 1, I didn't trick my client. Number 2, I did a good job. And that's the best vitamin I could take. And I don't take vitamins, but I'm just very lucky. I lost my wife a few years ago, and we were together for a long time. She's the lady in the blue dress that changed me. And if it wasn't for her, I don't know what prison I'd be in. I told that to the Boys and Girls Club, and I was thinking, my grandson is out there listening in the audience, and I'm talking about what prison I'd be in, not if. And so she kept me out of prison. I do have a story to tell you that might be of interest to some people. Let me show you. This is a book. It's listing all the Supreme Court judges, and I'm in the book.
Yeah, you sent me
Not
a
a not a Supreme Court judge, yeah. Am I premature by talking about this?
a little bit, but it's all right because I did want to ask you about this because I enjoyed what you sent me, the excerpts of you in it, and I was going to ask you if you wanted to talk about it.
What I did as a kid, I stole a lot of things. I would steal everything and anything. And so this one day I saw this car and it had golf clubs in the back. And so I sold the golf clubs. And when I got caught right away, I was trying to sell the golf clubs. And I spent 14 days in jail. And that was no fun, I'll tell you that. When I got out, the judge says, "Now, young man, I sure hope you learned a lesson." I said, "Yes, sir, I have." And the judge says, "I want you to go back and apologize to the owner of the golf clubs." So I didn't know who the owner was. And so I went back, and it turned out to be a lawyer about that. And he was nice. He was very polite. He was very understanding and forgiving. And that meant a lot to me. And he turned out to be a Supreme Court judge. And I turned out to be a lawyer. And I argued cases in front of him. And he knew who I was. And I knew who he was. And it was interesting. And he talks about it. There's a book that comes out once a year, and he's in the book, and he put me in the book. And it's yellow, and he talks about a prominent Southern Indiana lawyer, and then he tells about stealing the golf clubs and and appearing in front of his court as a Supreme Court judge. And so I think I had 3 or 4 cases in front of him. But he never, and I called him when he was 92 years old, and he was still very nice to me and polite and complimentary. And it was an experience that was good, bad, and ugly in that I decided to steal. But that's what I did. That's what I did. I stole 23 cars. And I didn't say I stole them. I joyrided in them. And I would go to the shopping mall and I would look around, and some people would leave their keys in there. And so I would joyride for about 3 hours. And then I ditched the car because I knew that if I kept the car longer than 3 hours, it was a hot car, and I would be in trouble. So I parked it. I parked this one car. It was a Buick. It was a brand new Buick, and I parked it a block away from the sheriff's home because I knew where he lived. And I parked it, and it was there the next day. I really felt bad. And then it was there the next day and the next day. So what I did is I got a nickel. That's back when you had to pay on the payphone. And I cleaned it off so my fingerprints wouldn't be on it. And I put it in there, and I used my handkerchief on the receiver. Saw too many movies, okay. And so I called the police and told them where the hot car was. And it was a block away from the sheriff's home. And so they came down and they got the car. So they got it back to the owner. So the 14 days in jail, I remember getting out of jail, and the police officer said, "Don, I sure hope you've learned a lesson." And I said, "Yes, sir, I have." And he says, "I hope you never do this again." There was another police officer there, and the one I was talking to, they gave me my 39 cents back. I had 39 cents in my pocket. They gave me my belt back, and there was a ceremony there. And so the other police officer said, "Chuck, he'll be back." And as I walked towards my car, I said, "I'll never be back. I'll never do anything like that again." And I haven't. And then later I became a lawyer. And it was interesting. When I represented 42 felonies, criminal cases, 42, and won them all. One was a manslaughter case, but they were all felonies. And I thought, you know what? I think I'm becoming Atticus Finch, because Atticus Finch was in the movie To Kill a Mockingbird, and the judges started calling me Slick. So I thought, I have to duck to go through doors. It went right to my head. And then in 1985, I switched over to civil law because the people that I represented, God bless them, they didn't pay me. They promised, but they did not pay me for the criminal cases, even though I won their case. And some of the cases were really fun. They were fun, and I would win. And it was something that taught me a lot. And then now here I am in criminal, non-criminal cases, civil cases, and that's where I made money. So I had a guy come over one day. He's in the furniture business. And he says, "Kenny, you ought to come over and get some furniture for your office." And I said, "I don't have any money." And he said, "We have a charge account. You can charge it." So I got I got a desk and things. Now, the stuff in my office right now, I went to Paoli Chair in Paoli, Indiana, and bought the chairs. I took 12 of those. I'll take 15 of those. And so right now I'm in a building, and I don't owe anybody any money at all. Zero. And so I'm really proud of that, because that's a temptation that I had when I was younger. And that is, if you don't have something, take it and steal it. And so I've had my fill of that. And so what I do now is I win, and we win 98% of the time. And I have a letter here from it's a letter from the State Bar Association saying that I lead the state for doing the most injury jury trials for 25 years. And so I was excited about that. I was undefeated. And so I was lucky. But that was in civil, okay, doing a jury trial. So I would file jury trials, and some of the cases would be terrible, and yet I would win them. I thought, hey, I'm Atticus Finch. I thought, sure, I was really smart. I am very detailed about my life right now. I have records of how many phone calls came in today. Usually I'll get about 300 phone calls a day. I'm on TV 500 times a day. I I win 98% of the time. I've been lucky. I've been very lucky. I have 100 employees. I may have said that already, and 15 attorneys. And I asked some of the employees, they need to call clients and tell them once a month how their case is doing and how they're doing. And I give them a checklist to check off what hurts, and I keep tabs on the cases. And it's fun. It's a challenging thing. And the defense lawyers, I say in my publication, I wrote a book, Things That You Didn't Know About Ken Nunn. Uh, and it was fun to write. I wrote about when I was 6 years old, skimpy dinners, electricity turned off, evicted many times, skipping school. I wore the same pair of pants my senior year in high school, and they were black. And to keep them black, I had to have RIT dye, and RIT dye cost a quarter. It costs more now, but I have RIT dye over there and back here to remind me where I was and where I'm at now. I got 35 dark blue suits. And back when as a senior in high school, as a senior, I wore the same pair of black pants. And I would go down the laundromat in my swim trunks at 2 a.m, and I would dye the pants black. And then I would dry them, and then I would go home and iron them, and I would wear them to school the next day. And so when you have bumps in the road, like I did, it makes you better. I look upon wearing the same pair of pants. Now I got 35 dark blue suits. I feel different. I have 5 cars. I got 3 Rolls Royces. I don't steal the cars anymore. I got 3 Rolls Royces and 2 convertibles and 1 sedan. And then I have 2 Lexus. And I built my daughter a house. I'm bragging now, and paid cash for the house, and it cost $5 million. And I did not mortgage it. That's one of the things that I tell my clients. I don't owe anybody any money. I have no reason to settle your case quick and cheap. And that's why we win 98% of the time, because I grew up without all of that, and it was fun.
Do you feel like your background has helped you in serving your clients?
Yes. Yes. It was growing up poor, and and it was things that you didn't know about Ken Nunn. I give that to clients, and it starts out saying that I wanted a nickel for a snowball, and I didn't have a nickel, and my mother didn't have a nickel. So I went and got tin cans out of a trash can, as many as I can get. And then I took 2 bricks and squashed them and took them to the junkyard. This is during the war and World War II. And then he would give me a nickel for 5 of those. And that nickel would be my ticket to get an ice cream cone. At age 6, I was already earning money the best I could. But it was terrible. I was a bad student. It was like we would have no heat in the summer or in the winter. And so I would go out with my red wagon and fill it up with tree branches and bring it back and start a fire in the fireplace. Growing up poor only made me stubborn and determined. I don't feel sorry for myself at all. And so I wrote this to let people know that I skipped school a lot, and that I was on the Ohio River and at 3 in the morning in a rowboat. And I tell people, I say, you and we're in the same boat. My reputation is important. It's on the line. And your case is on the line. And so I will work really hard to protect my reputation and to protect your case and be fair about it. I stress a lot about not being in debt only because I suspect that some lawyers get themselves in a pickle and financially. But I was never.
So I didn't realize this until reading some of the materials that you sent me, but that lawyers weren't able to advertise until 1978 after the law changed. And so I was curious, when did you start really investing in advertising?
We're spending about, I think, between $7 and $10 million a year on advertising, and it's fun. It works. I have a lot of things here that I write. For example, I send to my clients. We've collected over $1 billion for our clients, and I send them, like the beginning of last year, we collected $70 million for the month. And then I give them 65 reasons to hire me. And so I put that in there. I look upon my bad grades as an incentive, my stealing as an incentive. I got that out of my system, and I don't, and that was a kid thing. So I never stole anything as an attorney. But I'm proud of the fact that Judge Prentice forgave me. And it was amazing that when I was 17 is when I took his golf clubs.
So you had put in some of the materials that you sent me that you still get ridiculed for advertising. And I was wondering, why is there this attitude around lawyers and advertising?
Why would some lawyers not like advertising? Because it was against the law. And when I went to school, you didn't talk about advertising. It was a no-no.
I was wondering, because your advertising it obviously works, it's done well for you. Did you ever expect that your law office would be what it is today?
No. This building is 30,000 square feet. I own a second building down the street, and I'm debt free. I never dreamt that I would be this successful, and I am successful. And I'm successful because I think that me and my client are in the same boat. What I do, I better do it right. And if that boat sinks, my reputation sinks. And that's why I win 98% of the cases. I don't want to sink. I don't want to look bad in front of the judge either. Oh, by the way, as a young lawyer, we are blessed here in Monroe County. And maybe there's other counties that lawyers can say the same thing, but let me tell you that this county had brilliant lawyers, fantastic lawyers, and they would beat me, and I would learn how to win, and they taught me how to win. And judges would do the same thing, and we had good judges, good lawyers, and you think getting beat is not good. It was good. It taught me how to do something. And then I would see a motion and I'd go, wow, why didn't I think of that motion? Why didn't I do that? And next time I would do it. So they taught me a lot. Law school does not teach you how to be a lawyer. They just teach you about law. And it's a little bit like doctors. You go to med school and you learn a lot about medicine and diseases, but then you actually go to the hospital to learn how to be a doctor. And that's so for me, getting out of law school and starting to practice, when the lawyers would beat me, I would learn from that. And so you walked away winner, even though I lost.
I'm from Martinsville, so near Bloomington, and I feel like everybody knows who you are. There's merch with your name, college students that call you a legend. What do you have to say about this fame that you've received?
I'm flattered by it, of course. The for example, I give back things. I give a lot of money to the Boys and Girls Club. I gave $2 million to Indiana University to help fix up the front of Assembly Hall. And I give money to police officers. I bought them all bulletproof vests. And it makes me feel good to help other people. And so when people come in, if they got a bad case, I love it because I'm going to win.
Yes. I did want to show you this T-shirt that I got here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You I feel like have you seen these before? The T-shirts and the sweatshirts and people
I
around?
have better, prettier sweatshirts. You should call Lisa and she'll send you some, okay? They're much better. They're red, for one thing. I don't like that T-shirt right there. Well,
That's a little bit of your kind of brand, the black suit with the red tie. You've made that your thing, I feel like.
I wear the red ties all the time. I buy them by the dozen, and the suits. I had just 35 dark blue suits, and taking them to the cleaners was a job.
You said that people ask you if you're ever gonna retire and you say, "Nope."
Absolutely no. It would be. It's my vitamin. It really is. Me talking to you right now is very enjoyable. Okay. I enjoy it. And I'm talking about myself. And what I have here is all kinds of things like things you didn't know about Ken Nunn. I give that out to clients. I wrote, "This is fun." Did you see that?
You did, yeah, and I showed it to a lot of the people in the newsroom. They liked it a lot because they were quite shocked because when you open it, there's the little screen and it
Oh,
starts playing music and everything.
my advertising is, of course, we didn't get to advertise until much later. And now everything is, even my envelopes have my name on it. And we hit the $1 billion mark. That's different. I've written lots of pamphlets. Not all lawyers are the same. Something that most lawyers would never do. I've written that. I don't mind spending $7 or $8 million for advertising. I'm on buses, billboards. I mean, let's see. I get 300 phone calls a day. I have 12 operators answering the phone. We're on TV between 400 and 500 times a day. Got 47 buses, 18 billboards, no, 30 billboards. I'm like a doctor in a way. If I was your doctor, I would want to know what your blood pressure is, how you're doing. I'd want to know all about you. And that's how I get I get 64 reports a month telling me how my clients are doing. And it's important for a lawyer to know how his clients are doing. And returning phone calls is really important. Last night, I returned 3 phone calls, and people are surprised that Ken Nunn is actually calling them back. And it was important to me that I show respect. And so I really believe my mother told me a good thing was second day I was a lawyer, that return phone calls and show respect.
I have one last question for you, and it's just, do you have any advice for young lawyers who may see a part of themselves in you?
Yeah, enjoy what you're doing. Enjoy helping people. That's really critical. I sleep good at night, and I know that I've done the right thing, that I've not tricked anybody. And so I would say have fun, help people, and pay your bills.
Thank you for listening to the Indiana Lawyer Podcast. For more information on what's happening in the legal community around the state, you can visit our website at theindianalawyer.com. While you're there, please subscribe to our daily and monthly newsletters, check out more podcast episodes, and listen to podcasts from across the IBJ Media Network. You can also find us on social media.